We're at almost 600,000 downloads for the podcast. That's fucking crazy. 600,000. Now, I wanted to talk about what podcasting has taught me over the last 4 years. It's obviously given me an amazing platform to share my thoughts. Happy International Women's Month. I've got red nails on. I'm feeling audacious. And it is 4 years that the podcast has been a thing this month. Actually, probably around the time that this podcast airs. I want to say it's right there. And I am feeling immense gratitude. So today's podcast is going to be very chill, very kickback. In fact, you're probably noticing a theme with that because I feel more at ease talking with you guys when I can feel like I'm chilling. Like right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in vertical because my camera died, and that's just what's happening right now. So we're going to go with the flow. And I'm on my couch just having a conversation with my besties who have been here, a lot of you since day one. If that's you, I love you. And a lot of you who are new to my world. And let me tell you, you're going to meet Vinny today because he's already coming over here in stealth mode about to attack. So anyhow, I wanted to say that I appreciate each and every one of you guys who listen and follow. We're at almost 600,000 downloads for the podcast. That's fucking crazy. 600,000. Now, I wanted to talk about what podcasting has taught me over the last 4 years. It's obviously given me an amazing platform to share my thoughts, and my kitty, who is now here. Hi, buddy. You can't be over there right now. I've had amazing opportunities come my way and lots of perks for sure. And I mean, it's really just a testament of you guys and your support as to why I get these perks, right? Because you guys follow and you listen and you share and you download. And because of that, it attracts people who are interested in having me try their products and their services. And so I've had a lot of opportunities. Now, I turned down a lot of them, if I'm being honest, because I'm not going to share things with you guys that I don't feel are in integrity, right? I'm not going to have a product that I'm using and I'm not really using it. And I see influencers do that all the time. And it feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel right for me. The energy doesn't feel authentic. And I just don't want to get into that trap. So just a side note, if I share anything here, if I point you in the direction of something or someone, it's because I have experience with it. I believe in it. And so anyways, I'm not going to ramble, but lessons I've learned that I feel like can translate to anybody, right? So I feel like this will be a super just off the cuff. I have some notes, but there are a lot of things that are on my heart and on my mind. But I want to start by saying that we need to talk about statistics for just a second. Like, I ain't a numbers girl, but when it comes to business, oh, hi, buddy, I have to be a numbers girl. So 90% of podcasts, people start podcasts, 90% of the ones that fail, they typically don't get past episode 3. So they don't get past recording or publishing more than 3 episodes. Now, the remaining 10% of the failed podcasts, those quit after 20 episodes. So we're 309 episodes in, guys. Right, Benny? 309. And if you haven't listened to 309, episode 309, you need to. That is a really kind of personal, but also an invitation for those of you out there that are maybe just feeling like you're in a funky spot in your life. And it's called The Old Me Had to Die. I know, dramatic, but it is what it is, right? Now, this brings me to my point with the podcast and the stats. I'm not going to sit here and say this is all because of me, and it's because of you guys. This only happens 309 episodes, 600,000 downloads, International Motherfucking Women's Month, is because you bitches showed up to listen for yourself, how many? And also, you've shared it with your friends. You've tagged me on social. Some of you are trainers. You've shared it with your team. You've shared it in Facebook groups. I've had people say, I found you on Facebook, right? YouTube. I had someone DM me today, in fact, that said, hey, I found you on YouTube and I'm obsessed with your stuff. Fucking, I love you, right? So stick around because I'm going to do something I've never done before and I'm going to do a giveaway, but stick around to the end. We're going to talk about it then. Okay. Okay. Lesson number 1. 4 years of podcasting, what I have learned is consistency trumps everything. So last year, if you've been listening for a minute, last year was rough. Last year was a funky year. Things were all over the place. It was reflected in my podcasting work, in just my content and creativity in general. But one thing I did is I remained consistent. Now, when I started the podcast, my goal was to download 2 episodes per week. And I was on a roll. And some weeks I was 3 weeks ahead. And other weeks I was like, shit, we don't have anything for Friday and it's Tuesday. And last year was challenging. And so I felt like some of my content felt really forced and I was just showing up just to crank out episodes. And this year I just took a totally different approach. The tail end of last year, I did a lot of soul searching. The new year was coming and invested in a new therapist and just really looking at my life as a whole and making some changes and really how I want to show up for my mission and my brand. And I had to decide that I need to talk about things that are interesting to me, fun to me. They light me up. They add joy to my life. And overall, it has everything to do with your health and wellness. And that's what this podcast really encompasses, is most things health and wellness. Mental health is a fucking giant piece of that. Okay. And so I was doing not only my community and my followers and all of you beautiful humans a disservice by not showing up authentically as myself. Like today, okay, I have my trays in my mouth. So if I sound like I have a lisp, that's why. I'm going on a dental journey this year. And so I have to wear these stupid things 22 hours a day. For those of you that have done it, it's similar to Invisalign. It's called something else. But anyways, your girl has some issues with her mouth. Like I need to wear these. I am supposed to wear them 22 hours. I probably wore them 20 hours yesterday, 20 hours the day before. So I'm like kind of playing catch up a little bit. And so I know I'm going to be sitting here for a minute. I need to wear these. I'm being me. I have no makeup on. My hair looks like the troll under the bridge because I took on a new self-care thing for myself, which was sitting in a dry sauna 40 minutes almost every single day, infrared sauna. And it has been a game changer for my mood, but it has been an asshole to my hair, okay, and my roots, and everything is just, it's interesting right now. We're just going to say that. But I'm here. I have no makeup on. So instead of worrying so much about it's got to be polished, it's got to be perfect, and then just not publish anything because of that, I'm showing up authentically. It doesn't discredit my smarts or my value. It's just real fucking life. And that's how I want you guys to connect with me, right? I don't want you to connect with some cyborg who's always perfect and it's just not realistic. So consistency wins. I continued to show up last year. It kept me going, even though I really wanted to throw in the towel and just give myself a really long extended break. I knew I just needed to get through some things. And oftentimes this is very similar to fitness, is you have those days where you just are like, this workout's going to be trash. It doesn't even worth it. Or you leave the gym thinking, that, oh, this was a waste of time, right? You go into that story in your head, but oftentimes there's going to be those days, right? Think about your favorite artists, musicians, regular artists and things. And so think about how many iterations of things that they probably go through, how many things they scrap or throw away or they put out and they're like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed, right? So the key point is just showing up and doing the work, even when you don't feel like it, sometimes is the answer. And sometimes it's not. But you have to be really in tune with yourself and understanding, am I skipping this because I truly, really need rest and it doesn't feel good for me to do this, and everything that's happening in my life lines up with me needing an actual break? Or am I just procrastinating because I want it to be perfect, and because it won't be perfect, then I'm just not going to do it? So there is a really big difference. And I think if you know yourself enough, when you are battling those voices in your head, when you're like, I want to skip the gym, or that workout was trash, or whatever, you know whether or not it's valid for you to completely disregard the perfect work or workout that you are going to have or have done. Whew, that was a mouthful. Now, when it comes to consistency, another thing that I know played a big role for me in being consistent is when those days would come where I knew I needed to record and I wasn't feeling inspired or motivated to produce content on specific topics. I knew that I really needed to sit down and just think, like, what's the bigger reason here? What's the bigger why? Why are you here? Why are you sharing? Why did you start a podcast? This is what you signed up for. And think about the consistency actually showing up for the people out there who are listening, right? And so even with some of my episodes that I felt were not my finest work, I knew that it wasn't a 10 out of 10 for me, according to my standards, but oftentimes we are the ones that are the hardest on ourselves. So at that point, I knew I just need to show up. Now, on the days that I couldn't show up or I was off, like I mentioned earlier, it truly, I knew, was an indication that something was off somewhere. I was off somewhere just energetically, mentally, in my life, personally. And I think giving yourself permission to have those days occasionally is key, right? It's more weighing in on what you're doing most of the time and not focusing on what you're doing least of the time. And so for me, it was not feeling connected to my content. You know, for a lot of my clients, it's maybe they're feeling burnt out, or they need something new. They're tired of the gym they're going to, or maybe they're not seeing results and they're getting frustrated, right? So when I know I'm going through it, it definitely has to do with not being inspired by my content. I feel like I'm phoning it in. And like I said before, going through life shit. And that's just normal, right? But podcasting has definitely taught me that the consistency is key for longevity, and also for me to go through those funky spots and know that you have to go through them to get out of them. Quite honestly, at least for me, in my experience, if I take too much time away from something, then I start to build a bit more anxiety about getting back to it. And I feel like if I could just keep the ball rolling, sometimes it rolls slower than other times, then I'm able to figure out what the core issue is throughout that journey and then come back full steam ahead like I am right now. So some things for you to think about. If you find that you're struggling with consistency, some things that I know work for myself, suggestions I oftentimes give to my clients if they're struggling, is getting out of my day-to-day routine, getting out of the usual pattern of doing things. So as you can see, I'm not in my usual podcasting location. I find that when I sit in my desk, it feels like it has to be this formal CNN broadcast. And quite frankly, I'm not about it. So I might venture back over there with my bookcase of my fun little trophies and achievements, but that's not really what's important here. What's important here is that you got to find what works for you. So if you are finding that consistency is an issue, what about you? What about your gym time or your workout time is unpleasant? What are you not enjoying about it? Besides the fact that oftentimes exercise is uncomfortable, okay? Listen, there's really no getting around that. You're going to be sweaty. You're going to be breathless. Your muscles are going to burn. Like, those things are going to happen. It shouldn't be painful, but it is going to be, there's going to be a level of discomfort. You're pushing yourself, your body outside of its usual day-to-day just existence. So it is going to be uncomfortable. So I moved I'm not saying you need to up and move, but hey, maybe you do. I moved here and found a gym that I was just not really overjoyed about. I enjoyed it much better than previous gyms that I've been to, but it just wasn't the perfect Goldilocks fit. And I found that. And now it's like a sanctuary for me. And I actually go to bed excited to get up and go to the gym. And that's something I haven't had for a minute. Trying out a new form of movement, that's another thing. Just seeing how much time I have here. Trying out another form of movement. What's something you can add into your current movement routine that will kind of shake things up? And like, let's not worry about the fucking calorie burn. Okay. Because that's what I used to do is like, oh, I can only do this if it's going to burn this many calories. And it's like, we don't do that. You're grown and sexy now. Grown and sexy women, they worry about their body breaking down and not having the proper mobility as they age and being able to do fun things and shit in their body as they're moving into their later years in life, right? A lot of us are empty nesters. A lot of us are retired. I've got so many women, high performing women in their second phase of life, and they're now shitting themselves like, oh shit, I didn't worry about my health or my nutrition or my mobility. And so to that I say, what can you add in that you know your body needs? Like maybe yoga, like a stretch, some kind of stretch and mobility session that you can go to. We have these things here in Vegas called the Stretch Lab. There's a lot of different things you can add into your health and wellness routine that might not be your traditional and like ingrained way of thinking like, oh, fitness only works if I do this because this is what I've done my whole life. Find a different way to move. There's so many other enjoyable things you can do. If you like dancing, if you like meditating, right? Like anything, something that is going to improve your health and wellness that can get you out of your current routine. And sometimes that will help you get re-inspired about your regular form of fitness. And it actually gets you in a place to where you look forward to going back and getting into the gym and doing legs and not living in the same gym in the same environment every fucking day. Like that is monotony. Other things that I did, find new podcasts. So rather than my go-to genres, I'm listening to podcasts in different genres, and that's sparking new ideas, new projects, new creativity, and has been a huge piece of my puzzle in coming back 2025, ready to fuck shit up, if I do say so myself. And also finding new interests. What are some things that you have been curious about or interested about that you can start adding into your routine to shake some things up? Kind of goes along the lines of the new movement, but it doesn't have to be. It can be finding a girls group in your city. Like I've done that several times here and have met some pretty cool people. And really it's been refreshing to have all these new connections and people here in Vegas. And it's really expanded me, not only as a person, but also my network and people I'm coming in contact with and opening up opportunities in other areas, which I think is fantastic. So you never know who you're going to meet. And I have utter belief in the universe and divine timing, putting you in places and in situations with people that you need into your life for some way, shape, or form, whether they teach you something, remind you of something, whatever. Laws of attraction, if you believe in that. The other thing I've learned in podcasting is that by me actually having more and exposing myself to these different things that I've been sharing with you guys here, it has made me a better podcaster because I have more interesting and different perspectives on experiences and things that I'm learning that I come back and regurgitate to you. I know that's such a gross word. Like I just picture a mama bird regurgitating a worm into her baby bird. I will not be doing that with you, Mr. Vinny. He's attacking me. So it's really been definitely a lesson in really just my own personal growth and how it's helped me just with my content, really, and giving me different perspectives, which is fantastic always. And I'm just enjoying a glass of LaCroix sparkling water, living on the edge, and added a splash of orange juice. If I was really a rebel, there'd be vodka in here, but unfortunately, we don't rock with that. It's never pretty. Okay, this cat is probably gonna stick a fingernail in my tights right now. Actually, he has one stuck in my tights. Okay, another lesson. is really the power of reinvention. And again, I think it just circles back to what I was saying just a couple seconds ago is I have a question for you. Okay, I wrote this down. A lot of times now, how I podcast and outline for shows, not that you care, but I'm going to share with you, is I sit down and journal every day. And typically, when I sit down and journal, there will be something that comes up for me, and it's like my own like revelation, or I feel like it's a message. It's like a message. Like it's a message for me, but it's also a message for me that I know will be valuable for other people. So the question that came to me while I was journaling yesterday is to really think about all of the versions that you, listener, have had go through to get to where you're at now. Because 4 years of podcasting, like I can't even go back and listen to episode 1 because I would probably want to throw myself in the trash can. Not really. I would just give love to that me 4 years ago and just be like, oh, sweetie, you have such a journey ahead of you. And you need to quit saying fuck every 10 seconds. Like, I feel like the first 30 episodes, I was way too like hardcore in the boss bitch paint and was like, I was saying the F word like excessively. And listen, your girl says the F word usually at least once every episode, but it was just obnoxious. It was unnecessary. But think about what your reinventions have looked like over the years. Now, I'm going to share mine with you just for funsies, go down memory lane. I think I talked about this a little bit in episode 309 as well, but this is a little different spin on it. And thinking about how your evolutions have unfolded, like what people have come into your life or what situations did you put yourself in that changed the trajectory or your path, right? So here's my example for you. Okay. And I'm going to share with you what each of these journeys in fact actually ended up. And this is the very short Cliff's Notes version. Literally, it's just like a few words for every part of the reinvention. But I want you to look at your timeline, your life, and any big pivotal moments that stand out. And what did you learn or take away from those moments that actually contributed to who you are in this very moment, in this only moment you have right now, which is now? Okay. So for me, and this is really relative to my health and fitness, but it's also my business. Okay. So my business is also my life. Crazy. Pole dancing. Okay. This is where my journey started, but moving from where I was before I tapped into teaching pole dancing and opening the pole dance studio was a night and day. It was like a light switch flipped on. And from that experience, I came out feeling more bold, able to speak my mind, more empowered, and definitely more confident, along with a plethora of other adjectives. Those are the ones that are the most important for this conversation. Then I moved into a phase of where I was offering group fitness along with pole dancing. And what that taught me was the importance of health. That's where it started. It was like the seed was planted. Granted, the pole dance studio piece, I was working out. I had started working out before then. I was getting into like exercise. I was not super consistent, but definitely it was a part of my life at that point. But then when we started pole dancing, it most certainly was a part because I was pole dancing sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes 3 hours a day. Okay. It was intense. But I also started to realize how my body and how my teaching was affected by what I was or was not eating the night before. And listen, I've talked about this before, but in full transparency, I was pushing alcoholism in the early days of owning that business. And it was just really hard to kill off some bad habits that I'd acquired before I actually started the business. And when I say alcoholism, I wasn't like rolling into class drunk, but I was definitely flirting with that line. And just being in the health and wellness space, I know that 2 to 3 glasses of wine per night, most nights per week, is not a healthy thing to be doing for your body. I don't care if they say grapes are good for you. Okay. Your liver will tell you otherwise. So I started to realize I couldn't keep that up for long. And so it was actually a blessing or pole dancing was a blessing because it really, I realized I couldn't keep up that level of wine consumption and actually be an effective human to run my business the next day. So when I added the group fitness component, then I realized the importance of health and nutrition. And I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and went through the health coaching program and nutrition coaching program there, and really just started to become passionate about that, right? So group fitness component, that reinvention piece of me really taught me about, again, health, sweat, and just more movement in general that wasn't just being stuck with just pole dancing, right? Strength in other ways. Then I evolved into becoming a personal trainer, just exclusively. No more pole dance, no more teaching group fitness. And I merged in more into the bodybuilding space and created a studio for group fitness, right? This isn't over the course of the last 4 years, but just really coming back to the power of reinvention and how this is all tied together. Because once I did that, I started to realize how important strength was, especially as we age, and really taught me about just resilience and feeling powerful in my body. Now, all of these iterations of myself, I've gleaned things from and take into the next iteration. And then from personal training and learning about that and teaching women about that to becoming an IFBB bodybuilding pro, okay? These are all the levels of reinvention. It started with me being a single teen mom on every form of government assistance. And then fast forward, right? Now the next level of reinvention has been my adventures in Boss Bitch Radio and I feel like that was only possible by going through all these levels of reinvention and really feeling like I can step up and own who I am. Now, where I'm at now, the beauty of that is I feel like, hey, I can flow through all of these sort of reinvented personalities if I want to, because I can step back into them very easily and I can capture that feeling very easily. And it's a really cool thing. And I really, again, owe it all to the people who have believed in me, who have trusted in me, who have voted with their time to invest in listening, who have voted with their dollars in paying for our programs, our services, all of the things. So this episode is really a big fat fucking thank you. And I'm not going to cry. We're not doing that today, boo. All right. The other lesson I've learned in podcasting is that your voice is your currency. And what I mean by that is it has allowed me to do several things. 1, speak up. 2, share my journey, and 3, help others by means of 1 and 2. Now, with speaking up, I've come to realize that not everyone's going to like what you have to say. Not everyone's going to agree, and everybody has their opinions. So for me, it was worth it because there were much more of you guys that love it than those that don't. And for me, that's all I need. I don't focus on the haters and the trolls, because if they come knocking, guess what I say? Show me what you're doing in the world. Because usually people who have shit to do, who are doing shit and being proactive and really trying and putting themselves out there, they don't have time to sit there and go troll Instagram and just start picking people's shit apart. Because if they do, then they really need to find something better to do. That's all I have to say. Now, for me, this has come by way of sharing a lot of opinions on the health and fitness space, and particularly in bodybuilding in general. And I feel like I will continue to evolve and share things in that space, because I know a lot of you come from that space and probably how you found me, because selfish, humble brag, my podcast was listed as one of the top 10 bodybuilding podcasts. And so I know it comes up for a lot of people who are searching specific topics that I've covered, but I'm going to be the first to tell you it's not a healthy sport. Okay. It's not, particularly for females. So do I still coach people to stage? I do. My approach is an integrative approach, which is not the standard, which is not the fucking normal. And that's why I choose to not work with a ton of clients, because there is going to be a lot expected of you. Your life, you are coming to me with your life. It's not just, hey, I want to get shredded for this show. That's a process, and it involves flirting with some very low calories, high energy expenditure. Your personal relationships will be affected. I don't care who the fuck you are. Like, it changes everything about your life during that duration. And I'm going to sit here and guide you every step of the way, and also remind you of certain things and perspectives, right? So anyways, I'm not going to get tangenty, but yeah. So it's allowed me to really draw a line in the sand and not be a generic influencer. And I think that there were times where I just wanted to be like, hey, I just want to be a generic influencer, not generic, but just everything looks polished. Everything is just whatever. And let me just have 200 people on my roster. And I have to do that anymore. It's not enjoyable. And I'm in a spot in my life where it needs to be enjoyable. And the podcast is allowed for me to do that. So it's awesome, because now it's brought in clients who are very fucking serious about working with me. And I'm working a lot more now one-on-one with other coaches in the space, people who have significantly larger followings than I do in both capacities, like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. And it has allowed me to work with real high performing individuals who they can't flirt with these like Walmart coaches. No offense. I'm going to be a dick for a second. Okay. Y'all know me. You love me. I have to be a dick for a second. But if you are a high performing CEO, you run a company, you're in charge of humans, and you suck at your fitness, and it just seems to either not really go very far, or you're just not pleased with the results and you're just kind of doing whatever, hiring a coach, a high level coach who works with high level entrepreneurs, is a productivity motherfucking hack. Okay. My clients will be the first to tell me that it has been a game changer for so many areas of their life. But anyways, so speaking up has helped, because you guys know exactly what I stand for and what I don't stand for. And if you come a knocking at my door for any of our coaching or programs, you pretty much know what to expect, and you're not going to be shocked at the word fuck, for example, right? Okay, sharing my journey. So sharing my journey has helped, because I know that the odds were stacked against me at a very young age. And when you can take yourself through these different reinventions, self-led, and you have experience in a specific area, right? I have over 20 years of experience in health and fitness and the school of motherfucking hard knocks, okay? Then it just helps solidify that you guys know by listening, like, I'm not just some 22-year-old who just started a podcast and has like 4 million followers on TikTok, and it's just because I'm cute and I have a nice ass or something like that. No, this was built brick by brick. And I think that has been a result of just my voice being my currency. And then helping others, right? Just getting to see women do some fucking amazing things with their lives, not just their bodies. That's definitely happening. But as a byproduct, their lives have been transformed, because there's something that happens when you start taking care of yourself, something fucking amazing, because all of a sudden you give a shit about yourself. And this is what happened to me, is I started pulling myself out of my own depression. And I don't advise that without the expertise of a doctor in your back pocket. And it was through hiring a coach to help me kind of figure out my shit, right? Like, exercise started the process, and then taking it to the next level was getting somebody who believed in me, someone who I could turn to and say like, hey, I don't know, I suck this week. And they can say like, no, actually you did X, Y, and Z. Like, let's celebrate that, right? That shit's so important. It's so underrated. If you ever had a coach in your youth for sports or college or whatever, and they were a great coach, imagine having somebody like that in your corner in your daily fucking life, who's helping you be an optimized human. I get to do that. Like, that's how I look at it. I'm fucking grateful as fuck, because I can look at your situation and say, I see where I think we should make some changes, but you tell me what you know is the biggest linchpin in your results. Everybody fucking knows. Everybody knows. And if you don't know, let me get on the phone with you for an hour and I will be able to tell you what it is, okay? Usually, if you're vulnerable and you are willing to share, like girlfriend chat style. So I get to do that. Fucking grateful. I get to help others. The other amazing things that I get to witness and have witnessed, particularly more heavily over the last 4 years, I get to see my clients leave toxic relationships. I get to see them set boundaries and stop doing shit that they absolutely fucking hate. You're welcome. I see that they are realizing that they don't have to be so rigid in their approach anymore, right? Like, let me teach you a better way, right? They're making more money as a byproduct of being more productive and efficient and clearing out the bullshit that is in their lives. And their families, their partners in lives have improved. This is incredible. Now, if this is you, if you have had this ripple effect happen in your family, in your kids, since you started taking care of yourself, you understand the value in that. You 1,000% motherfucking understand. Because when your household runs as a unit and everybody is healthier and everybody is moving their bodies and they're getting out that stagnant fucking energy like your kids, and they're on devices all day and they're just eating snacks. Like my son was doing that, and I'll be the first to throw him under the bus because I had to have a very honest conversation with him that was not the most fun as a fucking parent, but it was my job to not only walk the talk that I was expecting my clients to with their families, but also he's my son. His health under 18 and him being in my household was my responsibility. And what was I showing him? That was not okay. He was definitely headed for some health problems. So taking care of yourself oftentimes is a ripple effect to those who you love. Okay. Now, the other awesome thing that I've been able to be a part of, and this cat is in feisty mode, he is now unlocked hyper cat mode, is I've got to connect with some really awesome trainers in the industry and do some consulting, which is fantastic and unexpected, but welcome, right? I've had people who, some of you probably listening, who listen to the podcast and either they're personal trainers working independently in someone else's gym or they're gym owners. It's usually been more gym owners than anything. And we've hopped on a call, like let's chat 15 minutes, see where you're at. And if it fits and they want to work with me, then we do that. But it has been tremendous because oftentimes us business owners, and especially, any business owner, but the health and fitness industry is no different. A lot of times our self-care and our health get pushed to the back burner because we are problem solving all day. We are the ones that are taking over other trainers if they have not showed up or they're sick, or we're dealing with just running on all cylinders. And been incredibly rewarding to me is to work with people who are in the fitness industry who are just not taking care of their own health and they're ignoring it, feel like shit about it when they show up and they're training their clients. And I've heard it all. And I get it because I've gone through those phases. I'm not shredded year round. And I've come to a place where I have learned to manage my nutrition the way that I manage my clients' nutrition for the most part, which is with the seasons of their life. So anyways, it's been amazing. And then also just, I know that some of you have found me because your trainers have shared my podcast, which is awesome. So the fact that you guys are sharing with your clients, I know back before I started a podcast, I wanted to start a podcast for probably 10 years ago. Okay. And I held myself back and this and that. And I think when I was a more naive trainer, I was just like, oh, it needs to be perfect, the whole thing. But I never shied away from sharing other people's content with my team. Right? Like if I felt that I heard something valuable and I wanted to share it with my team because it would improve how they showed up for our clients or how they coached nutrition people, right? Things that maybe I hadn't created yet. I would share. And I think that just pays it forward in so many ways. And so for those of you that do that, I'm grateful for you and thank you. So all of these things are really just honestly a byproduct of the power of not being afraid to share my journey. To that, I ask you, how could you inspire one person today? One fucking person. How could you do that? What could you do to inspire or motivate one person? What is it in your day-to-day routine that you could share, maybe over on Instagram? Maybe it's listening to this podcast, no pressure, where you share it. And it's like one person could hear this and it could be a game changer for them. I've seen so many of those light bulb moments happen with just people sharing my podcast, which is awesome. Okay, the last lesson, girl, your girl can talk. The last lesson, community over perfection. Now, I would love for you to come and find me on Instagram and go talk to me over there. I'm a real person over there, okay? I answer my DMs. A lot of you lately have been dying because I send voice messages. Voice messages are my love language. Sorry. I was like, my love note, my love language. So if it's time for me to be on Instagram and I'm on Instagram and I'm replying, I am definitely trying to reply with voice as much as I can because you're following me. It just makes sense. Like I had probably 100 messages yesterday when I posted stories, and some of you are going to laugh because probably some of you were ones that messaged me about my fucking cat getting on the counters. And I had so many suggestions. I had paragraphs of people just giving me information, people sending me voice memos, people sending me links to other things. Like, y'all are amazing, okay? But I want to show up as authentically as possible. I want you to feel like if you met me in person, it would be exactly how you see me on social media. And that's usually what I hear when I actually do get to meet some of you guys in person, right? I might be a little awkward at first, so just forgive me because I'm really comfortable here behind the mic, but just give me like 5 minutes and I'll warm up, okay? But I want you to feel like you could hang out with me in real life. Now, I did go through a phase, like I was mentioned, where it had to be polished and perfect, and now I'm over here just itching my butt, and that's just what's happening, okay? I had to come to a spot where I felt like the message is way more important than the package, right? The message is just way more important than worrying about it being polished. Now, if you want to hang out with me more and you need a place and you're like, where can we hang out more besides Instagram? I do have a Facebook group. And listen, I know some of you are rolling your eyes, but it's still happening over there because I'm there. But I have a Facebook group. I will link it up in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description box to my Facebook community. It's the Boss Bitch Besties. Okay. We couldn't get any cornier than that. And I am in there now twice a month doing lives and Q&As. My plan is to show up and just share what is on my mind at any given time with the landscape of what's going on in my life. And that would be relative to you guys and helpful. And also we prompt you in there for any questions you might have, health and fitness related, macros, training, mindset, all that fun stuff. Which brings me to the question of the day. Have you been over and left a 5-star review? Listen, I know it's annoying and I hate when people ask on their podcasts, but let me tell you why. The reason why we ask, especially if you are a repeat listener and you enjoy the content, is because it pushes the podcast out to other people who might be looking for the same content or might be interested in the same content, right? It helps us grow the podcast. Should there be somebody who approaches me for sponsored, oh my gosh, I cannot say that with these things in my mouth, sponsorship, they look at those things. How many reviews do you have? How many written reviews do you have? That plays heavily as essentially social proof that people enjoy the content, right? And if somebody approaches me with a bomb ass product, y'all want coupon codes, don't you? So let's collectively raise the energy here. So if you have not left a 5-star review, I would love that. That would be super fucking helpful. Now on Apple, it is a little bit of a pain in the ass to find that. So if you're listening to this episode, go to the episode main page where it lists all of my episodes and scroll to about halfway Is it up or down? I never know. But take your finger and push the screen up. How about that? Okay. Scroll up and you will see it's kind of in the middle, and you can tap and leave a 5-star review. And if you can so I just want to share the latest comment because I believe I know who this is. I believe it's one of my clients, Lisa Pilgrim, because her iTunes name is LPLGRM, and I'm pretty sure that's her. Actually, I'm certain. She says, I loved episode 295. I loved hearing about your 2024 goals for 2025. This is a perfect to prep for tomorrow's goal setting workshop. Thank you, Lisa. You're the best. I love you. And Lisa, in fact, Lisa's got a little bit of a new groove. Okay. So she started with us last year, and she's doing incredible. Aside from the weight loss, I mean, she's made so many other health improvements, and I'm super fucking proud of her. So Lisa, if you're listening to this, I love you. Or if your sister's listening, because I know your sister was the one that shared the podcast with you, and that's how you found us. And now look at you now. Anyways, to celebrate, you guys have never done this. I'm sweating. I'm a little bit nervous. Not really, but kind of. To celebrate the podcast's birthday, which I intentionally started on International Women's Month, and to celebrate the birthday of the podcast, I want to do a drawing for a one-on-one coaching call with me. Okay. I have not done this in a very long time. Now, what the hell is a coaching call? Well, I'm going to tell you. You're going to get on a call with me, and before your call, I'm going to have you answer some questions so I know a little bit more about where you're at with your health and fitness journey. And then on the call, we're going to have a conversation about that. We're going to have a conversation about what your current health condition is. What are your goals? What are you struggling with? Where do you need help making progress? Are there any self-limiting beliefs that you have about certain things that you aren't doing or are doing? Is there a way that you're talking to yourself? What does your self-care routine look like? You know, how are your stress levels? What do you spend your days doing? I hate to say what do you do for work, because if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's a fucking job. So what do you do? What do you spend your day doing? What is most of your day spent doing? And what types of movement do you enjoy? How many times a week would you realistically like to train? And then I will give you solutions to those problems. I will tell you what you need to tackle first. Okay. Because let me just give you a spoiler alert. It's not always like the whole enchilada. A lot of times when I work with clients, I'm giving them very basic fundamental things that I want them to achieve before we even start moving any of the big rocks, right? Well, actually, we want to move the big rocks. We don't need to focus on the minutia, I guess is what I'm saying. So with that, I want to give away one coaching spot, one one-on-one call with me. It'll probably end up being an hour. And the way that you're going to enter is I'm ethically bribing you. Okay. Leaving a 5-star review and leaving me a comment. Okay. I will be doing a drawing with anybody who submits a review, a 5-star review and a comment for the month of March. Now we only have a couple weeks left, so get it in there. Now, if you've already rated and reviewed, I believe you can do it again. If you cannot, you need to do it on another platform like Spotify. Okay. And I will be checking both because that is the two prominent areas where the podcast is broadcasted. So Spotify or iTunes, I'm sorry, I can't do it anywhere else because that'll be too many places to have to look for things. But leave a 5-star review and tell us just exactly how the podcast has shared information with you that was helpful, and let us know. Okay, I'm done babbling for now. Go submit your review, and I hope to be talking to you on a one-on-one call so we can figure out where we need to fix any energy leaks in your fitness routine and get you on the path to your best body ever. All right. I love you. Kisses to your forehead. Couldn't have got here without you. And happy International Women's Month. And happy birthday to Boss Bitch Radio.